If you don't push yourself to grow, nothing in your life will change. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll begin tomorrow"? How many times did you know exactly what action to take, yet chose not to take it? Most people don't lack ability. They just keep choosing comfort instead. And comfort never creates a better future. This isn't about being lazy. It's about allowing emotions to take control. You feel tired, so you skip it. You feel unmotivated, so you postpone it. But life doesn't respond to feelings. It responds to actions. This video is honest. It's for people who are tired of repeating the same cycles. It's for people who want to stop wasting time and start building something meaningful. No more delays, no more gentle excuses. If you're ready to push beyond your limits and take charge of your growth, this is where you begin. Let's start. Chapter 1. Get up and fix what you keep avoiding. You know what's difficult? Confronting something you've avoided for days, weeks, or even years. That's hard. But do you know what's harder? Living with the consequences of never addressing it. Every morning, you wake up with something sitting in your mind. A task left unfinished, a habit left unchanged, a conversation never started, a decision pushed aside. And the longer you ignore it, the heavier it becomes. That's the burden of neglect. That's the price of ignoring what needs attention. Growth doesn't begin when everything feels perfect. It begins when you stand up and deal with what's been holding you back. That's when real change starts. Most people wait for the perfect moment to restart. They say they'll do it next week, after the weekend, or when they feel more prepared. But there is no perfect moment. There is only today. And the truth is, if you won't face it now, you probably won't face it later. So if something in your life feels wrong, if deep down you know there's something you've been running from, stop turning away. Improvement begins the second you stop pretending everything is fine. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You only need to be honest. Be honest about what you've been avoiding. Be honest about where you've let yourself slip. Be honest about the habits that are stealing your time, energy, and potential. It's not big dreams that destroy people. It's the small lies they tell themselves. It's the quiet deal they make with their weaker side every day. That inner voice that says, "You can do it tomorrow." That voice is the problem. That voice keeps you stuck. It protects comfort, but kills progress. It sounds gentle, but it leads to a hard life. If you want to grow, your actions must speak louder. You must break that silent agreement with laziness. If your room is dirty, clean it. If your money is out of control, check your bank account and face it. If your health is declining, go for a walk and eat a real meal today. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Today. Because the moment you face it is the moment you regain control. Every problem you ignore grows stronger in the dark. Every problem you face becomes smaller in the light of action. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they wait to feel strong before acting. That's not how growth works. Action comes first. Confidence comes later. Strength is built by doing hard things, not by thinking about them. The person you want to become already exists inside you, but that version is hidden behind everything you keep avoiding. Listen closely. I've met people from all over the world. People with talent, intelligence, and big dreams. And you know what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck? It's not luck. It's not background. It's not money. It's the choice to face difficulty without turning away. They stood up and fixed what they kept ignoring. You don't need another course or another app. You need courage. You need discipline. You need to stop asking how you feel and start asking what must be done. Start small if necessary. Clean your workspace. Reply to that message. Go to bed earlier. Drink water. Say sorry if needed. Finish something you started and abandoned. These small actions may seem insignificant, but they add up. Each one rebuilds your confidence piece by piece. When you take action, even small action, your mind begins to believe again. Your self-respect begins to return. You stop feeling like life is controlling you and start feeling like you're in control. That's power. That's ownership. That's growth. The truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one will wake you up early. No one will solve your problems for you. You have to do it. You have to take the first step when no one is cheering. That's real growth. That's the difference between talkers and doers. You already know what needs attention. You don't need more time. You need more responsibility. Growth isn't about doing everything. It's about doing what matters. It's about choosing the area of your life you've ignored for too long and finally saying enough. I will face this. I will stop escaping. I will stop blaming. I will stop hiding. Once you handle that one thing, your energy will shift. Your identity will change. You'll feel stronger. You'll trust yourself again. That's when things begin to move, not in theory, but in real life. Self-improvement isn't a trend. It's a promise you make to yourself. It's not something you do only when you feel inspired. It's something you do because you respect who you are. Every day you ignore what matters, you break that promise. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you rebuild it stronger. There is no shortcut to growth. There is only facing what you've been avoiding and doing what needs to be done without delay, excuses, or running. That's the work. That's discipline. That's how you improve. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's difficult. But avoiding problems doesn't make life easier. It makes you weaker. And you're not here to be weak. You're here to grow stronger. You're here to push yourself. You're here to become someone you respect. Someone who leads, takes responsibility, keeps promises, and handles pressure. So if there's something in your life you've been ignoring, face it today. Don't wait to feel ready. You won't. You just need to stop waiting. Stand up. Fix what's broken. Clean what's messy. Do what feels uncomfortable. Because the longer you delay, the further you move from who you want to become. And I promise you this. Once you face it, once you fix it, once you take action, everything changes. You breathe differently. You walk differently. You think clearly. You trust yourself again. And you'll realize growth was never far away. It was always on the other side of what you avoided. If you want to improve, begin there. Stand up and fix what you keep ignoring. That's the first step to real change. That's how the climb starts. And once you take that step, everything else begins to move with you. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. And that strength, that daily decision to face what matters, is how you force yourself to improve every single day. Chapter 2. Clean your space before you clean your mind. Look around where you live. Look at your room, your desk, your kitchen, your car, even your digital files. Notice the mess, the clutter, the lack of order. That isn't just random stuff. It reflects your choices, your mindset, and your discipline. The environment you accept shapes how you think, act, and feel about yourself. You cannot build a focused, strong mind in chaos. When your outer world is disorganized, your inner world struggles to stay calm, sharp, and clear. That's the truth. People say they want clarity, peace, motivation, and energy. But it's hard to have those things when you wake up in a room with clothes on the floor, cups left on the table, unfinished tasks, and papers scattered everywhere. You can't expect a clear mind when your surroundings constantly remind you of everything you haven't dealt with. That quiet pressure adds up. It turns into mental clutter. And each day you ignore it. It slowly drains your focus, your drive, and your sense of control. Before you try to change your mindset, start with what you can control right now. Clean your space. This isn't just about cleanliness. It's about regaining control. When you clean your space, you improve your habits. When you remove what you don't need, you stop holding on to what no longer serves you. When things are organized, your brain begins to believe in order again. It starts to believe you can fix things. It notices action, and action is where real change begins. No one feels confident sitting in a mess. No one looks around a dirty room and thinks, "I feel powerful." That's because our brains react to our environment. Living in clutter teaches your mind to accept confusion and delay. You stop noticing what needs attention. You accept that the pile in the corner will stay there. Over time, that acceptance becomes normal. You stop responding to it because you've trained yourself to ignore it, and that way of thinking spreads to other areas of life. You delay decisions. You lower your standards. You leave things unfinished. You get stuck in a cycle of accepting what you know should be fixed. So the first step to getting your life back on track is taking responsibility for what's around you. You don't need money to clean. You don't need a self-help book, a planner, or a perfect routine. You just need to stand up and remove what doesn't belong, throw away trash, wipe surfaces, organize your desk, make your bed, fold your clothes. This isn't about impressing anyone. It's about proving to yourself that you have the discipline to create a better space. Here's what most people don't realize. Cleaning creates momentum. You start with one drawer, then move to the closet. You clean your room and suddenly feel like going outside. You finish one task and your mind feels sharper. That's how progress begins. One action leads to another. That's how motion is built. That's how mental fog clears. Not by waiting to feel better, but by doing something small that leads to something bigger. Cleaning also gives your mind room to think. When your space is clean, focus becomes easier. Your thoughts aren't fighting the mess. Your brain isn't exhausted by constant reminders of unfinished business. You breathe easier. You feel lighter. That's not imagined. That's your mind finally getting relief from carrying unfinished weight. And this isn't only about physical space. Clean your phone. Delete unused apps. Clear emails that don't matter. Unfollow accounts that drain your energy. When your digital world is messy, it pulls your attention in every direction. You try to focus, but notifications pop up. Tabs stay open, and your photos fill with junk. That constant noise adds up. Noise makes thinking harder. It weakens focus. It breaks consistency. If you want a better life, start by cleaning the one you already have. Because if you don't respect what you have now, you won't respect what comes next. Someone who can't manage a messy room will struggle to manage bigger responsibilities. The habits are the same. You either fix what's broken or look away. You either take ownership or avoid responsibility. It starts small, but it always shows up later in bigger ways. People say they feel stuck. They say they're unmotivated, overwhelmed, or depressed, and those feelings are real. But many times, what they need first isn't a deep conversation or a new idea. They need a reset, a return to order. a space that reflects their intention to move forward. When you clean your space, you give yourself permission to show up again. You stop living in yesterday's mess and start stepping into today's possibilities. This is about identity. A clean space sends a message. I care. I matter. My goals matter. My energy matters. That message repeats every time you walk into a space you've taken care of. And repetition builds self-respect. Self-respect builds discipline. Discipline creates results. Results create change. On the other side, when you ignore your environment, your mind starts to believe you're not serious about changing. It assumes you're fine staying where you are. That belief turns into a story. That story becomes who you think you are. The more you accept mess, the more you become someone who lives in it, both physically and mentally. This isn't about perfection or obsession. It's about intention. You don't need to clean everything at once. You just need to begin. Choose one corner. Handle one drawer. Fold what's been sitting too long. Organize one folder on your computer. The goal isn't approval from others. The goal is proof to yourself that you can handle responsibility. That proof adds up. It changes how you move, how you speak, how you think. It sharpens your mind. People search for motivation, but motivation comes after action, not before. You don't wait until you feel like cleaning. You clean, and the feeling of control returns. You clean, and your thoughts clear. You clean, and momentum builds. When your space is clean, your priorities become clearer. You're not distracted by clutter or pulled off track by disorder. You sit down to work with room to breathe. You go to sleep in a calm space. You wake up without feeling behind. That peace matters. That control matters. Don't overlook it. This isn't about being tidy. It's about becoming someone who takes action. Someone who respects their space, their mind, and their time. Someone who doesn't accept unnecessary stress. Someone who handles what needs to be handled without praise or permission. You'll feel the difference in your energy, your mood, and how you speak to others, because the way you handle small things shapes how you handle everything. And when you take time to clean your space, you're training yourself to fix things, organize, manage, and lead. That's growth. That's real self-improvement. That's how strength is built. If you want to move forward in life, you have to clear the way first. Remove the old before chasing something new. Take responsibility for where you live, how you live, and what you allow around you. Your environment is either helping you move ahead or keeping you stuck. So clean your space, not because someone told you to, but because you've decided it's time to live like someone ready to grow. And once you do it, once you look around and see order and clarity, you'll realize it was never just about the room. It was about you. It was proof that you're not someone who avoids, delays, or settles. You're someone who shows up, takes action, and builds life with purpose. Start there. Start today. Clean your space before you try to clean your mind. Everything else will follow. Chapter 3. Do what you said you would do, even when your mood changes. Following through, especially when your feelings shift, is what separates people who grow from people who stay stuck. It's easy to make plans when you feel good. It's easy to promise you'll wake up early, finish the work, eat better, read more, stay off social media, or stick to your routine when your head is clear. But life doesn't care how you feel when it's time to act. Life checks whether your actions still match your words when things get uncomfortable. That's the real test. Most people don't struggle because they lack ability. They struggle because they don't follow through. As soon as their emotions change, They let their mood decide whether they'll keep their promise. But growth starts when you stop asking how you feel and start remembering what you committed to. If you said you would do it, then do it. That's where self-respect is built. That's how character forms. You become someone you can trust. If you only act when it feels good, you'll never be consistent. You'll stay stuck in a loop of starting and stopping, always waiting for the right feeling to push you forward. But motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. You have to stop relying on your mood and start relying on your decisions. What you decided when your mind was clear shouldn't disappear just because you're having a bad day. Your goals didn't change. Your values didn't change. Your promises didn't change. Only your mood did. Don't let a short-term feeling cancel a long-term intention. Your mood will change often. You'll feel tired, annoyed, bored, sad, frustrated, or distracted. That's normal. Discipline isn't about acting only when everything feels right. Discipline is doing what matters even when things feel wrong. If you wait for the perfect mood, you'll miss most of your potential. Because real growth usually happens when energy is low, not when it's high. People say they want confidence, but confidence comes from doing hard things, not talking about them. Every time you show up and keep your word, even when you don't feel like it, you build trust with yourself. You start believing you can handle pressure. You begin seeing yourself as someone who finishes what they start. That changes everything. And here's the truth. No one sees most of your discipline. No one notices the days you push through low energy. No one applauds the quiet moments when you choose effort over comfort. But those moments shape your life. That's where you separate yourself from the crowd. That's where change really begins, not on display, but in private. There will be days when you feel like doing nothing. You'll want to skip the workout. You'll want to scroll instead of working. You'll tell yourself, just today, I'll rest. Just today, I'll delay. But those small compromises are dangerous. They turn into habits, and habits turn into identity. What begins as one skipped task becomes a pattern of avoiding difficulty. Soon you're stuck again, not because you're lazy, but because you trained your brain to choose comfort before commitment. You have to train your mind to move even when emotions say stop. That's how progress happens. That's how you separate feelings from choices. When you wake up in a bad mood and still do what needs to be done, that's strength. That's real growth. This isn't about being perfect or emotionless. It's about keeping your word. It's about honoring what you said when no one is watching. No one is coming to check on you. No one is making sure you followed through. That responsibility is yours. Your integrity is your job. You said you'd do it, so do it. And if you repeat that daily, regardless of mood, your life will change faster than you expect. Because the people who grow the fastest aren't always the most talented. They're the ones who keep moving, even when their feelings don't match their mission. Stop treating emotions like commands. Feelings matter, but they aren't always useful. Sometimes you'll feel tired and still need to work. Sometimes you'll feel upset and still need focus. Sometimes you'll feel empty and still need to move forward. If you only act when the mood is perfect, you'll miss the moments where growth was waiting. If you want change, become someone who does hard things quietly. Become someone who finishes tasks not because they're enjoyable, but because they matter. That identity is built by doing what you said you would do, no matter how you feel later. That's where your power starts, on day 1, even when day 30 feels different. When you live this way, People notice, not because you talk about it, but because your actions are steady. You'll carry yourself differently. You'll speak with confidence. You won't need others to push you, because you've learned how to push yourself. That's what happens when words and actions align. You feel grounded. You feel focused. You feel strong. This isn't about killing emotion. You're human. You'll feel many things, but feelings pass. Your life is shaped by what you do consistently, not by what you feel temporarily. The world respects people who keep their word. And more importantly, you'll respect yourself on a deeper level, knowing your results came from doing what most people avoid. Think about all the times you said you'd start something. Then think about how often your mood decided whether it happened. You don't need another fresh start. You need to become someone who finishes. And finishing begins with honoring your word, even when emotions try to interrupt. When you make a plan, commit to it. When you set a goal, don't renegotiate it every time you're tired. When you choose a habit, follow through even when no one is watching. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you move higher. Every time you finish what you started, you develop. Every time you act, without waiting for motivation, your identity strengthens. You won't always feel prepared. You won't always feel confident. You won't always feel motivated, but you can always choose to follow through. That choice is your strength. That's your advantage. That's what builds real momentum. Start paying attention to the small commitments. If you said you would read, then read. If you said you would go to the gym, go. If you said you would stop delaying, take action now. These small moments of integrity shape your future. They teach your brain that your word matters. They train your nervous system to choose action instead of delay. Over time, this changes how you face every challenge. You'll still feel emotions, but they won't control you anymore. You'll feel tired and still work. You'll feel nervous and still speak up. You'll feel bored and still show up. That's growth. That's freedom. That's becoming someone who lives with purpose instead of reacting to every feeling. So the next time your mood changes, don't follow it. Remember what you committed to. Remember what matters. Remember why you began and do it anyway. Because the real you, the focused you, the disciplined you exists on the other side of keeping your word when your mood says stop. That's how you take control of your life. That's how momentum becomes unstoppable. That's how you force growth by doing what you said every time, especially when it's uncomfortable, especially when emotions shift. That's the difference between people who hope for change and people who create it. Chapter 4. Speak to yourself like someone who wants more. The way you talk to yourself matters more than you realize. Most people spend their day with an inner voice that causes more damage than any outside criticism ever could. It's quiet, constant, and powerful. It shapes how they feel, what they believe, and how they act. That voice either strengthens you or tears you down. And for many people, it has been doing harm for years. Every time they mess up, that voice appears. Every time they fall short, it reminds them of past failures, doubts, and fears. It doesn't guide them forward. It keeps them stuck. You cannot grow while constantly attacking yourself. You cannot move ahead if your own mind keeps saying you're not capable or not enough. That inner dialogue becomes the wall between who you are and who you could be. If you want better in your life, you must start speaking to yourself like someone who deserves better. You can't treat yourself like an enemy and expect progress. That doesn't mean lying to yourself or pretending everything is fine. It means being honest while still being supportive. It means holding yourself accountable, without using shame. It means correction with belief, not punishment. Imagine you were guiding someone who truly wanted to improve. Would you speak to them the way you speak to yourself? Would you point out every flaw, repeat every failure, and crush their confidence before they even begin? Or would you encourage them, give them direction, and remind them of their potential? If you wouldn't tear them down, why do it to yourself? The words you say inside matter. They shape your mindset. They affect your energy. They influence your decisions. If you constantly tell yourself you always fail, that you'll never change, that it's too late, or that you're not good enough, you're building a mental space where growth cannot survive. And it feels normal only because you've repeated it for so long. But normal doesn't mean healthy. Familiar doesn't mean useful. Start noticing how you talk to yourself when things go wrong. Listen to your inner language when you fall behind, make mistakes, or lose momentum. Ask yourself if that voice would actually help you move forward. Growth doesn't come from self-attack. It comes from understanding and direction, from recognizing what went wrong and choosing a better next step. Not punishment, but purpose. That inner voice needs to become a coach, not a critic. Stop feeding your mind negativity and start feeding belief. You don't need fake confidence. You just need to stop training your brain to doubt itself. You do that by changing your self-talk, by interrupting those automatic thoughts that run on repeat. When you hear, "I always quit," replace it with, "I'm learning how to stay consistent." When you hear, "I'll never change," replace it with, "I'm building better habits." These aren't empty phrases. They're signals to your brain. They shift your focus. They open new paths. People mock affirmations, but everyone uses them. We just call them thoughts. If you repeat all day that you're lazy, behind, or stuck, you're reinforcing those limits. You're locking yourself into that identity. But when you choose words that point forward, change begins. You act differently because you think differently. It's not magic. It's psychology. It's repetition. It's habit. You can train your mind the same way you train your body, slowly and consistently. Start by catching negative self-talk when it happens. Don't ignore it. Challenge it. Replace it. Speak words that push you, but also support you. You don't need to be gentle. You need to be honest and focused. Stop saying, "I can't," and start saying, "I'll figure it out." Stop saying, "This is just who I am," and start saying, "This is who I'm becoming." The most influential voice in your life isn't your boss, your parents, or your friends. It's yours. Your mind listens to you more than anyone else. So give it something strong to follow. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop hoping someone else will fix your mindset. That responsibility is yours. That's how control is taken. This isn't about pretending to be positive all the time. It's about choosing your words carefully, because your inner words become beliefs, and beliefs drive behavior. If your beliefs are broken, your actions will never be consistent. Fix how you speak to yourself, and you'll fix how you show up in life. Start now, not tomorrow, with the very next thought. If it's negative, challenge it. If it limits you, replace it. You have that power. You're not trapped by your thoughts. You create them. And because you create them, you can choose better ones. Your brain believes whatever you repeat. If you tell it you're stuck, it looks for proof. If you tell it you're improving, it searches for growth. It doesn't judge what's true. It responds to repetition. So start repeating the version of yourself you want to become. Start speaking words that pull you forward instead of dragging you down. You won't get it right every time. You'll have rough days. You'll still doubt yourself sometimes. That's normal. But the more you practice, the stronger that inner voice becomes. Eventually, it becomes automatic. And when that happens, everything shifts. You begin to trust yourself more. You take chances. You stop needing approval. You stop being afraid of failure, because when something goes wrong, your mind no longer says you're a failure. It says this is a lesson. It doesn't say you can't handle this. It says you've survived worse. That's the voice you need. That's the voice that creates progress. So if you want better, start sounding like someone who wants better. Cut out the self-hate. Drop the sarcasm. Stop insulting yourself. That isn't toughness. That's self-destruction. Be firm, but fair. Be honest, but hopeful. Speak to yourself like someone who believes growth is possible, because it is. But only if you allow yourself to try again. Only if you stop tearing yourself apart every time you slip. Only if you build a mindset that helps you stand back up instead of keeping you down. You don't need a new year or a new month to change the way you speak to yourself. You can start right now. You can decide that your inner voice will become your strongest support, that it will guide you instead of blocking you, that it will challenge you without putting you down. Growth doesn't only come from changing your actions. It comes from changing how you think, how you speak, and how you respond to yourself when things get hard. It comes from building an inner dialogue that pushes you forward instead of pulling you back. That's what real strength looks like. Not pretending to be fearless, but choosing to talk to yourself like someone who wants more from life and is willing to build it, one thought, one word, one belief at a time. Chapter 5. Stop scrolling and do one useful thing. Now look at your phone. How much time has disappeared into it today? Be honest. Not just the time spent on real tasks, but the minutes lost scrolling, tapping, watching, refreshing. You're not alone. Millions of people are losing their days one scroll at a time. They're not lazy. They're not broken. They're distracted. And distraction is quietly stealing their potential. It feels harmless. Just a few minutes, right? But those minutes add up. 10 minutes in the morning, 20 during lunch, 40 before sleep. Suddenly it's hours gone. And what did it give you? Nothing that improved your life. Nothing that made you stronger. Nothing that brought clarity. Just more noise, more content, more opinions, more things you didn't need and didn't benefit from. Every time you scroll without purpose, you trade your attention for nothing. Your brain gets a quick hit of stimulation, but your life doesn't move forward. You don't get closer to your goals. You don't solve problems. You don't build anything meaningful. You just burn time. And time is not renewable. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't earn it back. You can't reload it. That's why wasting it is one of the most dangerous habits there is. What makes it worse is how normal it feels. Everyone's doing it. People scroll in restaurants, in meetings, walking down the street, even lying in bed next to people they care about. All consuming content that adds no value, no purpose, no return, just passive consumption. When you live like that long enough, your ability to focus disappears. Your energy for real work fades. Your drive to act weakens. Your mind gets used to reacting instead of creating. Slowly, you lose momentum in your own life. You already know there's something you should be doing. Right now, there's one thing that could move your life forward. Maybe it's organizing your space. Maybe it's planning your day. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you've avoided. Maybe it's starting that idea you keep thinking about. You know what it is. But instead you grab your phone. You scroll. You delay. You avoid responsibility. Then you wonder why nothing changes. The truth is, you don't need more motivation. You don't need another video or quote. You need to stop scrolling and do one useful thing right now. Not later. Now. It doesn't have to be big, but it must matter. It must move you forward. Because action creates progress. Progress creates energy, and energy pulls you ahead. Scrolling doesn't do that. It pauses your life while you watch others live theirs. People say they're always tired, but most of the time it's not physical exhaustion. It's mental drain. Not from doing too much, but from doing nothing meaningful. From filling their minds with random input instead of working on their own path. That mental clutter piles up and makes you feel stuck, but you're not stuck. You're just buried under things that don't matter, and the way out is action. One action. That's all it takes to break the cycle. Put the phone down, close the tab, turn off the screen. Choose one useful thing and do it now. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not after one more scroll. Now. Because the longer you wait, the heavier it feels. But when you act immediately, even in a small way, something shifts. That shift is powerful. It reminds your brain that you're in control, that you're not owned by distraction. It gives you momentum. And once you do one useful thing, the next one becomes easier. That's how momentum starts. That's how bad days turn around. That's how you get back on track. Your future is being shaped by what you do in this moment. Every scroll, every delay, every wasted minute builds a wall between you and your potential. You can't say you want to improve while doing things that hold you back. It doesn't work. Growth begins when you stop lying to yourself. When you stop saying, just 5 more minutes, and start saying, I'm done wasting time. This isn't about quitting technology or deleting social media forever. It's about control. It's about respect. It's about deciding your time matters. Your attention is one of your most valuable resources. Whatever holds it is shaping who you become. So protect it. Be intentional with it. Be strict about what you allow to steal your attention. If you're tired of always feeling behind, if you're frustrated with wasting your days, if you know deep down you're capable of more, then begin now. Don't complicate it. Don't overanalyze it. Just stop scrolling and do one useful thing. Wash the dishes. Plan your day. Go for a walk. Read a single page. Write down your goals. Reply to that message. Clear your inbox. Just one thing. That's enough. Then when it's done, do the next one, and then the next. The more you repeat this, the easier it becomes. You train your mind to stay focused. You train your willpower to stay firm. You train your body to move with intention. And that training spreads into every part of your life. You become more disciplined at work, more present in conversations, more intentional with your time. And people notice. You begin to stand out. Not because you're louder, but because you're clear. You're not scattered. You're not constantly distracted. You're grounded in action. If you want a better life, stop using your free time to avoid responsibility. Stop draining your energy on entertainment that doesn't help you grow. Choose action over distraction. Choose purpose over habit. Because once that habit is built, it becomes your advantage. While others waste hours, you build skills. While others chase trends, you chase progress. While others drown in noise, you stay locked in on what matters. And remember this, no one is going to do this for you. No one is coming to protect your time. No one is going to take the phone out of your hand. That responsibility is yours. And that's a good thing. Because if it's your responsibility, then it's also your power. You can choose better right now. You can decide that today won't disappear into mindless scrolling. You can make it matter. All it takes is one useful action, one small shift. And that shift can turn into a better habit, a better day, and eventually a better future. So choose carefully. Choose intentionally. Choose now, because your life isn't waiting for more scrolling. It's waiting for more action. Not more content, but more creation. Not more distraction, but more direction. Put the phone down. Focus on one thing that improves you. That's how progress starts. That's how control is built. Chapter 6. Eat well when your body wants to give up. There's a moment in almost every day when your energy drops, your body feels heavy, and your mind looks for an escape. That's when most people reach for something fast, sugary, salty, or greasy. Something that feels comforting right away, but leaves them feeling worse later. That's the trap. When your body wants to quit, it doesn't need junk. It needs fuel. It needs real nourishment. But your emotions try to convince you otherwise. Your body isn't just asking for food. It's asking for care. It's tired. And the easiest response is to give in to cravings. But cravings aren't solutions. They're short-term relief with long-term consequences. The more often you give in when you're exhausted, the more you train your body to expect comfort instead of support. This is where discipline really shows up. Not just discipline around hunger, but discipline to choose what helps you recover instead of what helps you escape. When you eat well in those moments, you're doing more than feeding your body. You're sending a message to your mind. You're saying, I respect myself. You're saying, I don't need instant pleasure. I need control. And that message builds momentum. It strengthens the part of you that keeps promises. It builds resilience. Because the choices you make when you're tired reveal how serious you are about improving your life. Most people don't break down because they're weak. They break down because they stop paying attention. They eat without thinking. They move through meals on autopilot. And autopilot always leads to regret. You don't think about how fast food will make you feel hours later. You only think about how easy it is right now. But growth isn't about choosing what's easy. It's about choosing what supports your future, especially when your energy is low. Your energy comes from patterns. Eat poorly over time, and you'll feel drained over time. Your sleep suffers. Your focus fades. Your mood drops. Your body feels heavy. And many people don't realize food is part of the problem. They blame stress, work, or life. But much of that exhaustion comes from what they're putting into their bodies. The body can't perform well when it's constantly recovering from bad fuel. It can't stay sharp when it's fighting against poor choices. You don't need a perfect diet to feel better. You don't need to become an expert overnight, but you do need to accept that what you eat is either helping you or holding you back. When you're already in a slump, the worst thing you can do is eat something that makes it worse. That's the moment you need to step up and eat with intention. Eating well when your body wants to quit isn't just about nutrition. It's about mindset. It's about treating yourself like someone who matters, someone who needs energy, someone with goals to build, and a future worth protecting. You wouldn't put bad fuel into a machine and expect it to run properly. So don't treat yourself with less care. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they'll eat better when life slows down. But life doesn't slow down. Discipline doesn't grow in perfect conditions. It grows under pressure, in fatigue, in real life. You don't learn how to eat well when everything feels easy. You learn when you're drained and still choose something healthy, when you pass junk food and choose nourishment because your future matters more than a craving. This isn't about extremes. It's about consistency. One meal can lift your energy. One meal can shift your mood. One meal can remind you that you're still in control. It's easy to ruin an entire day just because you slipped once. But that's not a food problem. That's a mindset problem. You don't correct a mistake by repeating it. You correct it by making a better choice next. And that next choice can happen immediately, even at your very next meal. You have to train yourself to see food as fuel, not comfort. Sugar doesn't fix stress. It only numbs it. And when the crash comes, the stress is still there, except now you feel worse. That's how people build habits of escaping instead of solving. But when you choose a better option, something simple, clean, and nourishing, you take your power back. You start showing up differently. Real improvement doesn't come from big dramatic decisions. It comes from quiet, everyday choices. What you eat when no one's watching. What you reach for when your energy is low. How you handle food when quitting feels easier. Those choices stack. They build a foundation. Over time, they shape how you think, how you move, and how you live. There will be days when your energy crashes. That's not failure. That's being human. What matters is what you do next. Do you make it worse with more junk? Or do you fuel yourself in a way that helps you recover stronger? That decision is always yours, and the more often you choose well, the easier it becomes. Don't let emotions decide your meals. Let your goals do that. Let your priorities lead. Let your commitment to growth guide you in the kitchen, at the store, or at the drive-thru. Even when you're busy or exhausted, there's always a better option. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs intention. It needs to support your energy, not sabotage it. And here's the truth. Eating well doesn't only help your body, it sharpens your thinking. It clears your focus. It lifts your mood. It gives you endurance. When your body is fueled properly, your entire system works better. Most people never experience how good they could actually feel because they keep eating like they don't care. But you have to care. You have to take it seriously. Food is a tool. You wouldn't pour soda into a car engine and expect it to work. Stop doing that to yourself. Respect your body. Respect your future. Respect your energy, your work, your relationships, your progress all depend on how you feel. And how you feel is deeply connected to how you eat. There will be moments when your emotions beg for comfort. Chips, sweets, soda, fast food will feel like a reward. But it's not a reward if it kills your momentum. It's not a reward if it leaves you weaker. Start rewarding yourself with strength, with control, with discipline. Feel proud that you took care of yourself when it was hardest. This is where identity is built. You decide who you're becoming. Someone who gives in when things get hard, or someone who steps up and fuels their future. Someone who uses food to escape, or someone who uses it to grow. That choice happens meal by meal, day by day, and every good decision reinforces that identity. So the next time your body is tired, your mind is foggy, and quitting feels tempting, don't reach for something that makes it worse. Choose something that makes you stronger. Eat like your goals depend on it, because they do. Eat like your energy matters, because it does. Eat like you're going somewhere important, because you are. That's improvement. That's discipline. That's real self-respect. And that's how you build a life you're proud of. Chapter 7. Move your body even when energy feels low. There will be days when you feel completely drained. Stress, lack of sleep, bad habits, and non-stop thinking will weigh you down and make movement feel impossible. You'll sit there telling yourself you deserve rest, that tomorrow will be better. But here's the truth. Movement isn't something you wait to do when energy is high. It's often what creates energy in the first place. When your body wants to shut down, that's usually when it needs movement most. You don't need to feel strong to start. You just need to begin with what you have. Stand up, stretch, take a few steps, let blood start moving again. Most people wait for motivation, but movement creates motivation. You don't move because you're ready. You move so you can become ready. Energy doesn't come from sitting still all day. It doesn't come from lying on the couch hoping inspiration shows up. It comes from breaking inertia. That first push feels heavy, but the moment you take it, you interrupt the downward spiral. That interruption is power. That's momentum beginning. You don't need long workouts or perfect routines. You just need to move. Your body was built for motion, not for sitting still while your mind races. Lack of movement fuels anxiety, fatigue, and frustration. Motion resets your system. It pulls you out of your head and back into action. When energy is low, a mental wall appears. You convince yourself that moving will make things worse, that resting is smarter. But there's a difference between recovery and avoidance. Rest is healthy when you're truly exhausted. Avoidance is what happens when you lie still because you don't want to face life. That's where progress dies. Movement doesn't just change your body, it changes your mindset. Your breathing improves. Your posture shifts. Blood flows better. Focus sharpens. Even your emotions lift. You've felt it before. The walk you didn't want to take but felt better after. The stretch that cleared your head. The small workout that gave you clarity. That's not luck. That's how your body works. You don't need to feel good to move. You need to move to feel better. Waiting for the right mood wastes days, but even small movement reclaims a day. One walk, one stretch, one short set of movement. That's enough to begin. This is responsibility. You are responsible for your state, and one of the strongest tools you have is movement. Use it. Don't give in to tiredness without asking yourself a simple question. Did I move today? Did I do anything that helped my energy instead of draining it? Most of the time, the answer is no. And that's why your body feels heavy. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your body hasn't been activated the way it was designed to be. You don't need a gym. You don't need special equipment. Your body is the tool. Use it. Wake it up. Respect it by putting it into motion, especially when it pushes back. Resistance is often a sign that movement is needed. That stiffness you feel isn't laziness. It's your body asking for attention. Listen to it. Don't ignore the signal. Think about what happens when you avoid movement for too long. You feel more tired. Your thinking slows down. Your decisions become weaker. Your mood drops. Your confidence fades. You start backing away from challenges that once felt manageable. That's what happens when the body is neglected. It pulls everything else down with it. But when you take care of your body, even when it's inconvenient, everything rises. You feel steadier. You feel more alive. And no one is going to do this for you. No one will move your legs or stretch your back for you. That's your responsibility. And every time you move when you don't feel like it, you prove something important to yourself. You prove that feelings don't control you. You do. That's how confidence is built. Not in comfort, but in action taken when it's least convenient. You're not too tired to move. You're just used to letting tiredness become an excuse. Change the meaning of tired. Tired doesn't mean stop. Tired means start small. Set a 5-minute timer and move. Most of the time, once you begin, you'll keep going. That's how momentum works. All you need is the first step. Don't overcomplicate it. Stretch for a few minutes. Walk around your home. Do simple movements. Roll your shoulders. Move your neck. Take deep breaths. These actions may seem small, but they bring life back into a flat day. Do it once, and you remember how capable you are. Do it daily, and you become someone who doesn't quit just because things feel hard. Tiredness isn't the enemy. Stillness is. When you stop moving, everything slows down. Your thoughts, your creativity, your confidence, your strength. You were not designed to stay still. You were designed to grow, and growth only happens in motion. There's also a quiet mental battle happening. Every time you choose movement over comfort, you win it. You tell your mind, I act, I don't wait. And that message changes everything. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You start creating it. You stop asking permission to feel better. You give it to yourself through action. You'll feel the shift quickly. Move your body and your thoughts clear. Move your body and your mood improves. Move your body and your sense of control comes back. It's simple, but it's powerful. You don't need more advice. You don't need another plan. You just need to move when you don't feel like it. This habit will carry you through hard times, through fatigue, through uncertainty, through low motivation. It becomes your anchor. Don't freeze. Don't hide. Move. Even light movement restores strength. It reminds you that you're not helpless. Most people wait to feel strong before acting, but strength is created through action. Confidence is built in effort. So the next time your energy feels low and you think about skipping movement, remember this. You're not doing it for how you feel now. You're doing it for how you want to feel later. You don't need to push extremes. You just need to keep the promise. Move even when it's easier not to. That's how you build a stronger body. That's how discipline sharpens. That's how you regain control of your life. When everything feels off, movement is your answer. Use it when the day feels heavy. Use it when your mind feels foggy. Use it when motivation is gone. That's when it matters most. That's growth. That's ownership. Chapter 8. Track what you do, not what you promise yourself. You can talk about goals all day. You can say you want to change. You can write dreams in a notebook, share quotes, and tell people you're working on yourself. But at the end of the day, only one thing matters. What you actually did. Not what you planned to do. Not what you meant to do. What you did. Your actions are the truth. Intentions only matter when they show up in behavior. Everything else is noise. Every day starts with good intentions. People say they'll eat better, work harder, stay focused, stop wasting time, and then they fall back into the same habits, the same distractions, the same delays. They tell themselves tomorrow will be different. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. Nothing changes, not because they didn't care, but because they never checked whether action actually happened. This is where most people get stuck. They confuse intention with progress. Setting a goal feels productive, but it isn't. Goals mean nothing without action. You don't get stronger by thinking about exercise. You don't gain skill by planning to learn. You don't change your life by wishing. Growth comes from doing, and doing means tracking reality. If you're serious about improving, start tracking your actions. Not your feelings, not your ideas, your actions. Ask yourself at the end of the day, what did I do that moved me forward? What did I avoid? What did I finish? What did I ignore? Those answers don't lie. Your journal shouldn't be full of motivational quotes. It should be full of proof. Proof that you showed up. Proof that you followed through. Proof that you moved, or proof that you didn't. This isn't about shame. It's about clarity. Tracking removes excuses. It stops self-deception. It exposes reality. Either you did it, or you didn't. And that honesty is uncomfortable, but necessary, because until you face your behavior, you'll stay stuck in good intentions. People say, "I'm trying," but trying isn't action. Trying is vague. Doing is clear. Doing is measurable. Either you made the call or you didn't. Either you showed up or you didn't. Either you followed the plan or you didn't. No more someday promises. If you didn't act, the day slipped away. Not to punish you, but to wake you up. There is power in writing it down. At the end of every day, look at the list. Ask yourself honestly, did I take real steps toward the life I claim I want? And if the answer is no, don't justify it. Don't soften it. Don't explain it away. Admit it, then fix it the next day. That's how progress is made. Not by pretending you're improving, but by facing what's real. Discipline isn't built on intention. It's built on habits. And habits are formed through repeated action, not repeated thinking. You can't grow if your daily effort depends on your mood or on what you hope to do someday. You need something concrete, something you can see, something you can measure. That's why tracking matters. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets better. You don't need a complex system. You don't need an app. You don't need fancy charts. All you need is a pen and honesty. Write down what you actually did, not what you planned, not what you thought about, what you did. If the list is short, that's fine. If it's messy, that's fine too. It just has to be true. Because truth is useful. Progress comes from consistency, not sudden bursts of motivation. And consistency comes from awareness. If you don't track your actions, you don't really know how consistent you are. You don't know if you're improving. You just guess. You hope. And that's why so many people feel lost. They don't feel progress because they never see it. They never measure it. They jump from one motivational idea to the next and wonder why nothing changes. Real discipline begins with observation, paying attention to what you actually do, not your excuses, not your feelings, your patterns. Patterns tell the truth, and you can't change what you refuse to see. That's why tracking matters. You become your own coach. You stop depending on motivation and start relying on facts. Every day is a vote. You're either voting for the life you want or the life you're drifting into. Every action is a choice. Every habit is a statement. Are you choosing growth or comfort? Are you acting with intention or running on autopilot? The answers aren't in your words. They're in your behavior. Treat your day like it matters, because it does. Treat your time like it's valuable, because it is. You don't have unlimited chances. Every day you delay is a day further from your potential. And potential without action is wasted space. It's easy to talk about goals, it's easy to plan, but planning isn't progress. Talking isn't work. The only thing that counts is what gets done. Track that. Build that. Measure that. Your future is shaped by what you do when no one is watching, and that's exactly what your daily actions reveal. This isn't about being perfect. You will mess up. You will have off days. But when you track your actions, you see the pattern. You catch yourself slipping before it turns into a full collapse. That's your safety net. Not motivation, but clarity. If you want to grow, prove it. Prove it with action. Prove it by tracking what you do when it's uncomfortable. Prove it by facing the gap between what you say and what you do. That's where change starts. That's where improvement lives. Not in intention, but in action. So ask yourself one question every day. What did I actually do today to get better? Write it down. Face it. Learn from it. Build on it. Repeat. That's how lives change. One honest action at a time. No fluff, no fake motivation, just truth. Consistent, real truth. And if you do that daily, you become unstoppable. Not because you wished for it, but because you earned it. One tracked action at a time. Chapter 9. Look in the mirror and be honest. Stand in front of the mirror, not to fix your hair or adjust your clothes, but to face the one person who knows everything about you. No filters, no performance, no distractions, just you and your reflection. This isn't about how you look. It's about honesty. It's about accountability. Because growth starts when you stop lying to yourself. You can fool the world. You can smile, act confident, and hide behind routines. But the mirror doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't listen to your stories. It doesn't reward your intentions. It shows reality. And most people avoid that moment. Not because they're weak, but because they've trained themselves to run from uncomfortable truth. People stay stuck because they avoid self-awareness. It's easier to say, "I've been busy," than to admit, "I've been wasting time." It's easier to say, "I'm working on it," than to admit you haven't taken a single real step. It's easier to focus on others than to admit you're not showing up for yourself. But avoiding the truth keeps you exactly where you are. Nothing changes until you stop protecting comfort and start protecting honesty. You need to look yourself in the eye and speak clearly. If you've been lazy, admit it. If you've been inconsistent, own it. If you've been avoiding the work, call it out. Not to punish yourself, but because you respect yourself enough to stop pretending. Pretending never leads to growth. It keeps you weak. It keeps you stuck. It delays the exact changes that could transform everything. The mirror doesn't lie, and that's why it matters. It reminds you that your life is shaped by your choices, not your past, not your situation, not your potential, but the decisions you make every day. And if you want better results, you need better decisions. But you can't make better decisions if you're still lying to yourself about where you actually stand. There's nothing wrong with being behind. There's nothing wrong with struggling. There's nothing wrong with falling off course. What's wrong is pretending you're not. What's wrong is acting like you've got everything figured out when deep down you know you don't. The truth might hurt at first, but it always gives you power. Lies might feel comfortable, but they keep you trapped. You need to build the habit of facing yourself daily, not occasionally. Not only when things fall apart, every single day. Ask yourself the hard questions. Did I do what I said I would? Did I focus on what matters or get pulled into distractions? Did I grow today? Or did I just get through it? These questions don't need excuses. They need honesty, even if the answer stings, because that sting wakes you up. It breaks the cycle. It signals that it's time to change. Real growth doesn't start with motivation. It starts with honesty. And that honesty can only come from you. Not from books, not from podcasts, not from advice. It comes from looking at yourself and saying, "This is where I am, and this is where I need to go." You don't grow by avoiding what's holding you back. You grow by facing it directly. And most of the time, it's not something external. It's a choice you keep delaying, a habit you keep defending, a standard you keep lowering. But once you name it, once you admit it, it loses control. The weight of denial lifts, and what's left is something useful. Clarity. You don't need to be harsh with yourself, but you do need to be clear. Being kind doesn't mean making excuses. It means telling yourself the truth so you can move forward. It means respecting yourself enough to stop hiding. It means holding yourself to the standard you say you want. Your goals don't need better intentions. They need alignment. Your actions need to match your values. Your time needs to reflect your priorities. Your effort needs to support your vision. And the only way to check that is to look yourself in the eye and ask, am I living in a way that respects what I say I want? If the answer is no, that's okay. That means there's work to do. And the work is what changes you. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you build strength. You gain clarity. You stop drifting and start directing your life. But none of that happens without daily honesty, not for punishment, but for progress. This habit of raw truth builds character. It sharpens your decisions. It helps you correct course faster. It keeps you aware of your patterns, and awareness gives you control. It gives you the ability to adjust, to improve, not later. Now, don't avoid the reflection because it's uncomfortable. Use it. Let it remind you of your standards. Let it show you where you've grown. Let it reveal what still needs work. The mirror isn't your enemy. It's your checkpoint. It's your guide. There will be days you don't like what you see. That's part of growth. You won't always be proud. You won't always be on track. But if you're honest about it, you're still moving forward. Because truth leads to correction, and correction leads to results. One of the most dangerous habits is believing you're improving when you're not. That illusion feels good enough to stop trying. But your future doesn't need comfort. It needs action. And action begins with truth. So stand there. Look yourself in the eye. Speak the truth. Not to tear yourself down, but to build yourself up. Not to shame yourself, but to sharpen yourself. Admit what needs fixing. Recognize what must change. Then act. Once you tell yourself the truth, there's no space left for lies. Only space for movement, for effort, for progress. That's how growth happens. Not through hoping, not through pretending, but through consistent honesty, especially when it's uncomfortable. That honesty becomes your advantage. It becomes your fuel. It becomes the foundation of everything you're trying to build. That's where strength begins, right there in the mirror. Face it. Tell the truth. Use it to rise. Chapter 10. Stop bargaining with your weakness. Every single day, a moment appears. Sometimes when you wake up, sometimes when it's time to start, sometimes when no one is watching. In that moment, a voice tries to negotiate with you. It says things like, skip today, or you've already done enough, or start fresh tomorrow. That voice isn't helping you. That voice is weakness, dressed up as reason. Each time you listen, you train yourself to pull back instead of step forward. Weakness doesn't announce itself. It shows up as logic, as comfort, as delay. But delay becomes habit, and habit becomes identity. After a while, you don't even notice it. You think you're tired. You think you're overwhelmed. But the truth is, you've let weakness start making decisions for you. That has to stop. You need to reach a point where the decision is already made. No debate. No negotiation. You said you'd do it, so you do it. You said you'd finish, so you finish. You don't ask how you feel. You don't weigh easier options. You act. Not because it's easy, but because that's how strength is built. Discipline doesn't appear by accident. It's created through repetition. Every time you say no to weakness, you say yes to your potential. And those yeses add up. They build trust with yourself. They sharpen your standards. They turn intention into reality. But if you keep letting doubt in, if you keep allowing hesitation and comfort to guide you, you're building the opposite of strength. You're training inconsistency. You're feeding the part of you that wants to stay the same. Weakness will always come with explanations. It's too early. It's too late. You're exhausted. Today was long. You deserve a break. Just this once. It all sounds reasonable. But every time you accept those excuses, you lose a piece of your edge. Slowly, you stop expecting more from yourself. You become someone who waits to feel ready, instead of someone who acts with intention. You don't need motivation to move. You don't need inspiration to follow through. You need to stop negotiating. The moment you allow yourself to debate whether you'll do what you said, you've already given weakness the advantage. Because when weakness is allowed to speak, it will always be louder than discipline. Real strength comes from deciding before the moment arrives. You prepare in advance. You decide what matters. You set your standards. You lock in your routines. And when the moment shows up, you don't think. You act. That's how professionals operate. That's how leaders build habits. That's how strong people live. Not because they feel amazing every day, but because they refuse to listen to the voice that wants them to quit. Weakness is not who you are. It's a choice you've practiced. You weren't born undisciplined. You became that way by giving in, little by little. And in the same way, you can take your strength back. One decision at a time. One hard moment at a time. Every day is a battle between who you've been and who you're becoming. Between what's comfortable and what's necessary. Between ease and growth. You don't win that battle by hoping for better thoughts. You win it by acting before excuses have time to form. By building routines that push you forward automatically. By closing the door so weakness has nowhere to enter. And that begins with honesty. Where are you bargaining with yourself? Where are you telling half-truths? Where are you letting delay pretend to be planning? Once you see it, cut it off. No more internal debates. No more letting emotions decide. Feelings change. Standards stay. If you only act when everything feels right, you'll never discover your true capacity. Your best progress happens when you move despite how you feel. That's where growth lives. In discomfort. In effort. In quiet moments where no one is watching. And the only accountability is you. Think about how much time you've lost talking yourself out of action. How many goals you postponed. How many plans you started but didn't finish. Not because you weren't capable, but because you kept negotiating with weakness. Every skipped task, every delayed start, every soft excuse adds up, but the opposite adds up too. Every disciplined step, every time you push through, every moment you choose action over comfort. That's how average becomes exceptional. There's a part of you that already knows what needs to be done. It doesn't need more motivation. It needs commitment. It needs fewer escape routes. It needs you to remove quitting as an option. That's how change happens. Not through dreaming, not through hoping, but through eliminating the choice to back down. That's real strength. Quiet, steady, consistent. And when you stop negotiating with weakness, you feel it. You stand taller. You speak with certainty. You move differently. Because now you trust yourself. You know you won't collapse when things get hard. You know you don't need perfect conditions to show up. You know your word means something. It's not just discipline. That's power. Confidence built through action. Repeated without excuses. You don't need to fix everything today, but you do need to stop giving yourself reasons to stay the same. That means choosing discomfort over ease, choosing progress over temporary relief, doing what matters even when your mood argues against it. This isn't about perfection. You will slip. You will get tired. But the difference now is simple. You no longer argue with the voice that tells you to quit. You hear it, and you move anyway. You work anyway. You finish anyway. That's how momentum is created. Through consistency, through ownership, through refusing to settle. Every day, the choice is yours. Feed weakness or feed strength. Accept excuses or rise above them. Listen to fear or act through it. No one else can decide for you. And once you decide to stop negotiating, everything begins to shift. Not overnight, but steadily. Day by day. Action by action. Your goals don't care how you feel. They care what you do. Your future doesn't need more conversations. It needs execution. Change starts when you decide to act without opening the door to doubt. So stop explaining why you can't. Stop waiting for the perfect feeling. Stop searching for another reason to delay. Decide who you want to be and live like it. No debate, no bargaining, just action. Again and again until discipline becomes normal and progress becomes your standard. That's how growth happens. That's how improvement lasts.